What up? What up? What up, y'all? It's your boy Kareem Supreme. Check this out. I'm reporting live from the 585, Rochester, New York. Excuse me. Yeah, we had some tragic news a couple days ago. The rapper from legendary rap group De La Soul, Dove, aka Trugoy, he passed away at 54 years old from heart failure or heart disease or something like that. But 54 is young to die of something like that. You know what I mean? So I encourage everybody to take care of themselves, especially black people. Always go to the doctor and get your blood pressure checked, get your sugar levels checked. Maintain a healthy diet and exercise. You know what I mean? Because some of us don't like going to the doctor, especially black men. You know what I mean? And most black people either got high blood pressure, pre-diabetes or diabetes, and they let it go. They continue to drink, smoke cigarettes, and that's another thing. Leave the drinks and the weed and the cigarettes alone. Drink tea. This is what I'm drinking right now, tea, out of a mason jar. This is ginger and ashwagandha and cinnamon tea. It's good for you. It's good for your immune system. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for a bunch of things. But Trugoy passed away, and that kind of broke my heart. And for those that don't know, Trugoy is yogurt spelled backwards. His favorite snack was yogurt. So, he also went by the name Plug 2. It was Plug 1, 2, and 3. And the reason why they called themselves Plug 1, 2, and 3 is because when they hooked up the mixer, there was always 3 mic inputs, plug 1, 2, and 3. You plug the mic up to plug 1, plug the other mic up to plug 2, and the other one to plug 3, and so on and so forth. Oh, shoot. I knew as soon as I started this video, somebody was going to come. Hold on a minute, y'all. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. I'm at work. Once again, I'm going to start sounding like Umar Johnson. Once again, I am at work. If y'all didn't hear me, I am at work. I said I am at work. But De La Soul. De La Soul is Spanish, and in English it means from the soul. That's why me, myself, and I, he said De La Soul is from the soul. That's what it means in English, from the soul. De La means from the. So, and the daisy, they went around talking about the daisy age. That's why they had them daisies, them colorful daisies, like those, that 70-ish style, colorful pictures of daisies. DAISY stands for the inner soul, y'all. That's what daisy means. The inner soul, y'all. For those that don't know. Now, let me tell y'all, I want to tell y'all how I got into De La Soul. Now, in the spring of '89, I was about 9 years old. I heard potholes in my lawn. I saw the video on BET, and I was like, yo, these dudes are different. Because everybody else back then, like Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather was out. They wore the gold, the leather, with the expensive, fedoras. They wore expensive clothes, and they looked hard. Public Enemy, they wore the big clocks, the Raider jackets, the fatigue jackets, or whatever, the Raider hats. They looked hard. Who else was out? NWA wore the Raider gear. They wore gold chains. They looked hard. Who else? 88, 89. You had who else was out in 88? I said Public Enemy, NWA, Run DMC. You had a bunch of hardcore groups out. Eric B. and Rakim. You know what I mean? They wore the big dookie. Everybody wore expensive chains, expensive clothes. But De La Soul, they came out looking like they shopped at Kmart. Not to disrespect them, but as a 9-year-old, my parents bought my clothes from Kmart. They kind of looked like me to a degree. They kind of looked like me and my friends, with the Aeropostale shirts, the plain Bugle Boy jeans, Bugle Boy khakis, apparatus khakis. They didn't look like they paid a lot of money for their clothes. They didn't look bummy. They just looked like some regular dudes you see walking down the street, some regular dudes next door. You know what I mean? They didn't look the part rapper. They look like some dudes who are trying to make it into the rap game. Some regular dudes, who probably worked a regular job that's trying to make it to the next level. Here they are, professional rappers, looking like some regular high school kids. Like they look like geeks or nerds or whatever. And they made a video about they made a video, me, myself, and I. They was basically clowning themselves. You know, in that video, you had a bunch of other, it was in a classroom setting. You had a bunch of other kids, you know, who looked the part rapper, who dressed hard, who wore the Adidas tracksuits and gold chains and the Davy Crockett hats. They came in there, you know, with button-up shirts, and it was getting clowned. You know what I mean? That's why that's why in the video they dropped out of the class. Remember at the end, you know, a masked version of themselves handed them a drop slip. They dropped out of that class. Why? Because it's just me, myself, and I. Now let me tell you how I came about listening to them over and over and over. Now back then everybody was cussing. All your rappers, you know, was hard cursing. Not all of them, but just about all of them. You know, De La Soul, they did, you know, they were squeaky clean. You know, they may have said, you know, a curse word here and there, but it wasn't every single song. Now, my best friend, his name was Dave, and his mother wouldn't let him listen to no rap music that had cursing in it. I remember we went to the record store, and I think I may have bought Ghetto Boys or something like that. I can't remember. It was something. It was something like that. I think it was Ghetto Boys Gripping on Another Level or something like that. And he wanted to buy the Ice-T album. I think it was Freedom of Speech, Watch What You Say, but his mother didn't like the cover. You know, the cover had Ice-T with a gun in his mouth and guns to his head. It said Freedom of Speech, Watch What You Say. He wanted to get that. She was like, nah, I don't like the way that looked. Plus, it got the parental advisory sticker on it. So he ended up buying De La Soul. And I was like, oh, they sang that song Potholes in My Lawn, but that was all I knew. And I just was looking like, okay, all right. Well, he was like, yeah, we're going to listen to this one, you know, when we get to my house. I was like, all right, bet. Couldn't play the Ghetto Boys or whatever tape I had that had cursing in it because my parents, yeah, they didn't really care about that. They listened to my stepfather listened to hardcore hip hop. So they didn't really care. They wasn't tripping. So that was like May or June of 89. And for that whole summer, every time I went over Dave's house, De La Soul was playing. And I remember saying, yo, these dudes is different. You know, every day. That was the only tape he had. Every day I went over there, you know, he had a Nintendo. Nintendo was out. And, you know, we were playing Nintendo, listening to De La Soul. You know, everybody else was listening to Run DMC or Ghetto Boys or not Ghetto Boys. Let me see, who else was out 89? The DOC. You know, they were still playing Straight Outta Compton and Eazy-E and all that. But Dave, De La Soul, Potholes in My Lawn. One of my favorite songs on that album is called Ghetto Thing, man. At that time, that hit home. You know, they was rapping about the hood with no cursing. I think he said one cuss word. He said life could be such a bitch, and that was it. You know, they didn't have to curse to get their point across. That whole summer, that's all we listened to. And I had to ask Dave to let me hold the tape, man, because, you know, I wanted to dissect it. You know, I wanted to take it home and listen to it and, you know, put on my headphones and just zone out and study the album. And I realized the whole album was full of skits. They had a lot of skits on that album. You know, it was like a game show. The album was like a game show, but the game show was skits in between songs. It was kind of weird, man. They set the trend for having all these skits on their album. Fredro from Onyx said they based their first album, Back the Fuck Up, on De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. You know, because Back the Fuck Up had a lot of skits. So did Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted. He had a lot of skits. He was influenced by De La Soul. You know, because before De La Soul, you know, rappers would have a skit here, an intro, an outro. That's it. These dudes had I'm telling you, these dudes had like 12 or 13 skits. It was like 23 songs on that album. We were used to like 10, 11 songs, you know, 12 songs at the most. These dudes had like 23 songs. I think Public Enemy had like 16 songs on their album. They had a few skits, but it was mainly like, you know, like I said, intros, outros, you know, a song that wasn't a skit. It was just the instrumental that they would have on their album. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back, you know. But Public Enemy, De La Soul, they went bananas with them skits, boy. But yeah, that's how I got introduced to De La Soul. My homeboy Dave. I haven't seen him in over 20 years, but every time I hear that 3 Feet High and Rising album, I think of him because that's all he played. You know, and it wasn't whack, it wasn't corny, it was interesting, it was dope, it was different. Yo, holla at your boy, Kareem Supreme. Peace.